Are you able to see my screen?
Absolutely, all tech check good. So as we can see you, we can hear you well, we can see the screen, all good.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the introduction, Lalit. Thank you very much. Hello everyone. Good afternoon and good morning. And my name is Pavan, and I'm a principal product manager for information protection and data loss prevention. And I'm very really excited to talk to you all today about the companion view of Microsoft Purview. And my role is more of the voice of the customer inside engineering that help prioritize or understand the insights of the product and what else we can do to bring more value adds to the product. That is what primarily my role. Before going to the actual session, I would like to share some of the market challenges to bring more awareness to the security and compliance product. And based on my interactions with the global customers, so these are all the primary things where what is happening on the cybersecurity field, especially with the customers. Like for example, the CISOs, like Chief Information Security Officers, many of the companies have hundreds of security tools, and they try to stitch them together across a hybrid and multi-cloud environment. And still they don't have confidence that are they secured or no at this moment. And we know at the globally the increasing data and regulatory complexity is happening, and every day it's a 250 plus updates are coming on the regulatory needs, and handling or compiling or bringing the compliance on those regulatory needs is also challenging. And information protection must be a comprehensive, accurate, and done quickly at the enterprise scale. So knowingly or unknowingly, many mistakes are doing by the end users. That is creating more confusion to the organizations on what else they need to do that. And effective collaboration across the workplaces is the most important thing to be done at the organization level or at the digital estate. And based on the on because I interact with primarily with the CISOs and CIOs of global customers, and based on that, what I identified is the average company with 1,000 plus employees owns around 70 plus security and compliance products, like products from different vendors, and it's becoming a challenging for the organizations where how do they manage these vendors coming from different and handling or delivering different products, and the maintenance is becoming a challenge for them. And then second thing is, on an average, organizations are spending around $1.37 million annually to handle the error alerts, basically delivering by the users. And the global cost of cybercrime is expected to reach around $6 trillions in 2022. And based on the analysis or based on the predictions, based on the history data, especially in the APAC region, Asia Pacific countries, most of the attacks are targeted on BFSI, telecommunication, and critical infrastructure sectors happening. And 43% of cyber attacks are happening on or targeting on more on the small businesses. And then there is an average 201 cyber complaints updates are happening or 750 regulatory bodies worldwide. And all these things, 53% of cybersecurity breaches are happening because of human errors. Because if we train the users effectively, these errors can be eliminated or can be reduced in any organization. And if we see the we all know that data regulations are increasing around the world. There are a lot of regulations with which organizations need to comply, and more are added every day. And then collecting customer data is core part of more businesses. There is a lack of rigor around maintaining and protecting personal data is better than what is a few years ago. Like for example, European GDPR or protecting personal identification number, protecting personal identification protection is one of the important thing, or in India, like a personal data protection is one of the most important thing, or general data privacy law, data protection act. So these are all the primary things. Why is it happening? All these things. If you take, for example, sorry. So the reason why it is happening is data has become the lifeblood of every business. But with the shift to hybrid work now, with the COVID or paradigm happening, where most of the people are following the remote work or the hybrid work, and unprecedented levels of digital transformation on and an organization data now lives outside of the traditional borders of business. In the olden days, people used to work in a confined space, and the data is used to transmit only at those confined space. Now with the hybrid environments, people are transmitting data from Sorry. Data from multiple clouds, multiple apps, multiple platforms, especially and then people transmitting the data from the handheld devices, from the laptops, from the personal phones and computers, and even with the Wi-Fi available across, and then data is coming into the organization knowingly or unknowingly. Some malicious information is coming into the organizations. So that is one of the reason why the traditional way of working is changed into the multi-cloud, multi-app, and multi-platform environment, which is creating an havoc to the organizations. And what we see our customers are doing is basically every customer is focusing on end result, and their priority is I want to deploy my product to my production environment, and then they're delaying the security, and then the focus is more happening on end result rather than on security. So every organization thinking that let my product move to production, then later point of time I will start implementing my security. And because they have tight deadlines at the organization. Just give me a minute. Thank you. So the reason being, the because the production timelines are very stringent, and then they don't want to prioritize other things until the product which they purchased and want to move into the production. That is what the primary focus happening. But actually, what we recommend is at the Microsoft, we recommend that you first focus on the security first, deploy upfront, especially on the identity and access management. Whom do I need to give them access to this application, and what all the devices are going to connect to this, and then what is the information I'm going to share it up, and which workloads we need to implement the security. Focus on that first, and then think about deploying or think about and solutions and apps later point of time. This is what most of the customers are doing, and the best way to do is implement the security or think or focus on the security depth first, and then start working on bringing the productivity apps later point of time. And now let me focus to on our current topic, which is Microsoft Purview. So to help organization govern and protect data across their multi-cloud, multi-platform data environments while meeting the compliance requirement, their subject today we are announcing Microsoft Purview. So basically, a group of products or a comprehensive solutions to help govern, protect, and manage entire digital estate. We call it the Microsoft Purview. It is a combination of multiple products. Basically, our Microsoft Purview solutions help customers to govern, protect, and manage the risk and compliance. Basically, it's a data governance product which helps in governing the data assets across any of the environments, or understanding and governing the data is the most important thing in any of the organization. And then threats can come from both outside and inside of the organization, identifying most sensitive information data which is present in any of in the organization, maybe in SharePoint or maybe in OneDrive or maybe in Teams chat or channel messages. Protecting that information is the most important thing, or else there may be users, or maybe some suppliers are working on a project where I need to share some of the information whom where I joined the company very recently, and then I am knowingly or unknowingly sharing a document to one of my supplier who is working in my project for a period of 30 days, and I don't know that I'm accidentally sharing the data to the wrong person. So we need to implement some of the protection needs at the content level or at the container level. That is one of the most important thing. To handle that, we have a data protection solution. And the third one is the risk and the compliance management, where which talks about identifying the data risk, and then applying or managing the compliance is the one of the most important thing. And then there are huge insider risks happening. So managing that insider risk, and then informing the global admin about what are the compliance needs, what else we need to do for the organization level to meet 100% compliance, and then investigate what is the policy violations happening by which user, which department, or which organization within our digital estate. That will be taken care by the risk and compliance management. A combination of all these things, we call it as the Microsoft Purview. And and one more thing is every organization discovering and managing data is the most challenging environment. So many of the organization doesn't know that where is my dark data residing? Is it in my HR database, or is it in a financial database, or is it in somewhere in my accounting database? We are not sure about that, or any of the organization not sure about that. So, and then identifying that, knowing how to identify it, where is it located, how is it being shared is such a big problem. And then, and 63% of organizations fear that I'm not sure whether my data is already leaked or going to leak, or is it is already leaking during this pandemic because of hybrid environments. That is what most of the organization thinking about. And 88% of organization no longer have confidence to detect and prevent loss of sensitive data, because where companies are implementing security measures, and then but they don't have confidence because of multiple things or multiple products or multiple hacking things happening in the organization level, and they're not sure. Still, the 88% of organization doesn't have confidence that they're protecting effectively the organization or no. And then every customer thinking that, and I don't want to implement multiple solutions or multiple agents where which will help in protecting or preventing data loss. So everyone is looking for a single solution that will protect and prevent data loss. And then thus information protection and governance came into the picture, which is a part of Microsoft Purview, which will help any organization to identify where exactly your data, most sensitive data is residing in your organization, and how do you protect the data by applying encryption or by applying protective controls and preventing data loss. And then once I identified, or once I encrypt my data, uh, which is residing in my files and folders, and then how do I prevent data loss? No sending, or people are sending the data into an external to external persons. And then how do I prevent data loss? Even though a person is sending to an external recipient, how do I apply labels, or how do I prevent, or how do I apply an action on the document not to send outside of the world or outside of the organization? How do you prevent data loss? And then govern your data is basically how do you retain and delete the sensitive data to comply with regulations. So today's focus is more on protecting your data and prevent data loss. In a simple way, identifying most sensitive data, we'll talk about know your data. And how do I apply encryption, like the labels? I'm going to give a demo of this. How do I protect data by applying labels like highly confidential, confidential, only for a project, or only for limited set of time? That will be taken care by protect your data. And how do you prevent data loss? Transmitting the data in the SharePoint or OneDrive or via email or via Teams chat or via any endpoint devices, or copying the or transferring the data into a USB drive, removable devices. How do you prevent data loss? And how do you govern your data? Is primarily on information governance. How much time I can retain this data? For example, I sent a contract note to one of my vendor and said that this document is valid only for 7 days, and the terms whatever I mentioned in the document is valid only for 7 days. So when the person is opening that email, he can access that document only for 7 days. On the eighth day, when he's opening, he get a message saying that the terms which were mentioned in the document is expired and you cannot open the document. So that will be taken care by the govern your data part. And this entire platform or a product, what are the types of use cases normally will be handled by this platform? So basically, if you want to discover contract documents and protect on SharePoint, which you don't know, like for example, every organization has millions of data residing in their SharePoint, like maybe 30 years or 40 years of data. And it's very difficult to open those millions of files and look at the sensitive information saying that the contract documents, okay, I want to apply a highly confidential, or I want to apply a confidential to this document. It's very tedious. Can I apply an auto label on these documents which are residing in my SharePoint from last 30 years? And how do I discover documents related to banking sensitive type, like regular expressions, or whenever there's a pattern and a value match is there, I want to apply a label on that. So can I do that without manual intervention? And if I mark the document saying that highly confidential, and one of my user when sending outside of the world, outside of the organization, he's just making highly confidential to a public or general. Whenever he is making downgrading a label, I want to force user to give a justification why he is downgrading that. And how do I enforce classification label in Outlook? Like apply a default label to all my emails saying that whenever I send a mail outside of my organization, always make it as confidential or restricted only to this organization, something like that. And how do I make email as a protected email to restrict recipients only when I'm sending to a Gmail or any other non-domain office domain? I want to apply a restriction on that. And how do I prevent user to send one-to-one and channel messages? Basically, when I'm sending a message to in the Teams chat, when I'm sending a message saying that please use my credit card number for the transaction which you are buying, I just want to block it up. Whenever anyone sending a credit card number, just block it up. So how do I do that? And I was and when the users going home and then started copying the office documents into their USB and then want to use it up in their personal laptops, I want to restrict that. Not blocking the USB, only whenever a sensitive information residing in a document is copying into USB, just want to block it up, something like that. So all these are all various use cases. Microsoft Information Protection will help. So this is what primarily many of the customers are looking at this moment, and they are looking for a simple solution because all these things will be handled by multiple customers, multiple vendors, but it needs multiple agents, multiple integration with a third party softwares or third party products integration is required. So every customer is looking for an intelligent solution which is inbuilt and then extensible platform to protect sensitive data. So that's Microsoft Purview Information Protection. Rather than we call it as a product, it's a platform of offerings. So as long as you have Windows operating system, which is and built-in Office available, so automatically the production will start applying. So everything is in built-in. So you no need of anything which is additional software is required. It's an intelligent ML-based classifiers, which we call it the trainable classifiers. So what happens is when the documents are huge and you want to apply a labels, and it's very tedious to apply that. So it's an ML-based or artificial intelligence-based classifiers will take care about exact data match or named entities. Everything will be taken care by the platform, intelligent enough to handle that. And it's an unified. So now since integration with Exchange, integration with SharePoint, integration with OneDrive, integration with endpoints, integration with Teams, integration with third-party apps. So we need multiple admins to handle that. And then multiple admin consoles will be always a time consuming as well as a confusion. So Microsoft Information Protection Platform is a single unified console where you can track it up all the alerts, all the incidents, and then all the reports or the analytics in a single unified console, and one global admin will handle all these workloads from single unified console. And we have a Microsoft Defender integration which we call it as the centralized console to view all the alerts from a single point of place. And then it's an extensible SDK where we can extract the data from the Office API and then start building our own data warehouse. And then to meet our compliance needs, we can build our own data warehouse and then put a visualization layer on top of that. It's an extensible and expandable SDK available within the platform. Now we understood what exactly the information protection. Now rather than we call it as it's just one feature, it's a platform of offerings. So basically, it's a framework or a suite of products that work together to provide visualization of sensitivity information across the platform or across the products. So it's basically a stitching of multiple things. Let me go one by one on this. So basically, it has, if you see if you remember the previous slide where I told about know your data, protect your data, prevent data loss, and govern your data. So now the know your data, this is the place where the data classification service happens. So basically, Microsoft has given industry standards or industry sensitive information types identified based on regulatory needs, based on industry types. For example, for all the banking and finance, like for example, if it is a US financial data, that means US social security number, US driving license, US banking ABA routing number. For example, if it is a personal identification act, so that means PIA data, like for example, credit card number or Indian Aadhaar card number or Indian PAN card number, tax identification number, all those things. So by default, Microsoft has given around 250 plus out of the box sensitive informations as part of the platform itself. And it has been stitched well with the industry regulatory templates like finance, IP, legal, healthcare, and all. And there are industries where whatever Microsoft has given out of the box sensitive information types may not be sufficient for them to handle their organizational needs. So we have a capability to create custom sensitive information types based on regular expressions where you want to stitch a pattern of data like a product ID with an integration with it, which is an alphanumeric number which Microsoft has not provided. It varies from organization to organization, where you can create your own custom sensitivity information types, also regular expressions. And not only that, especially in the pharma industry, there are a huge drug related information is evolving, rather than because they don't know when the drug comes into the market, huge amount of pharma terms they're identifying, or something they're doing on the pharma industry. So they can create their own dictionary of items, and then we can start protecting the dictionary also. And not only that, the fingerprinting, you can apply fingerprinting on any of the documents. If knowingly or unknowingly a document is going with a predefined template, you can start protecting and preventing data loss also. Not only that, we have a capability of exact data match and in ML based classifiers, which we call it the trainable classifiers, that helps in validating and publishing the result, just like the train and test model of a artificial intelligence. So how does it looks is basically this is the screen where when we log into compliance.microsoft.com. So by default, Microsoft has given around 250 plus sensitivity information types for most of the organizations whatever needs, like Australia bank account number for Australia related, for Argentina national identification number, for India Aadhaar card number, for Singapore driver's license number. That way it has been identified what is most important for each of the industry, that has been identified and given as a sensitivity information types required for the organizations. We have a capability to create our own sensitivity information types where you can choose regular expression or exact data match or dictionary type. Everything you can do it using create sensitive information type. So and then trainable classifiers have the one where is a AI based or ML based classifiers where it will test the model and then train the model and then test it up and give a predefined sensitivity information types which are available as part of trainable classifiers. And the content explorer is the place where it will tell you where exactly these my sensitive information, because as a global admin, you don't know that where is my critical information residing. When you click on this content explorer, you will get to know about where exactly my sensitive information types residing in my organization. Is it in SharePoint, within the HR repository, or in the finance OneDrive? Most of the sensitive information related to personal identification numbers are storing there. So that will be taken care by the content explorer. Activity explorer will tell us about the user logs and the events, who has done mischievous activity, and which user has downgraded the label from one place to other place. That will be taken care by the activity explorer. The overview will give the dashboard of how much of percentage of my organization has this sensitivity. Like for example, Australia bank account number. How many places or how much of percentage of my organization has Australia bank account number residing in my all the users, all the entire digital estate? How many places this bank account number is residing? That will be given by the RU section. So this entire thing we call it as know your data. So identify your data, the most important thing. This will be taken care by this. Once we are clear on where exactly my data is residing, now I want to start protecting the data. So how do I protect the data? So now for example, you have a Word document which has 30 pages of data, and then and you realize that this is the most important where my CIO is going to share it up in the board of directors meeting, and this should not go outside of any of the users or any of the people in my organization. So you want to apply a label. So that is called protect your data, where you'll apply a confidential label or a public label or general. If a person is trying to downgrade this confidential to public or general, a justification will come asking why are you downgrading that. So a message will go to the global admin, message will go to the manager, or message wherever you want to inform, you can do that. So either the sensitivity labels can be applied to contents, apply directly in Office apps, or not only that, even in the Power BI reports also you can apply. And then anywhere in the Azure data, the encryption and visual markings you can apply. Like when I say visual markings, a document which is confidential, you want to apply a watermark saying that highly confidential, and you want to apply a header saying that it's a confidential document not to go outside, and the footer you want to say that only internal use only. That way you can apply content labels for, for all these content which is residing anywhere in any of the workloads. And the container labels is basically you want to apply for the entire SharePoint site, saying that apply this data residing inside the SharePoint site is applicable only to the project HR or project finance or project marketing, something like that. You can apply label to those containers. So you can give access controls or privacy settings or conditional access you can give to these container labels. So powerful controls you will apply to protecting the data. And and you don't need to worry about how do you apply manually opening 30,000 or 30 millions of files which are residing from long. We have a automated labels where when once you create a label and make it as automatic, a simulation model will run at the back end, and then that will scan entire your digital estate, including user machines, including SharePoints, including OneDrives, and it will scan the entire digital estate, and it will look at the sensitive information type, looking for that word inside those document. If they found that word, say for example credit card number, then immediately that document will be applied as confidential. Or else if you see, if you define for your organization product ID is the most sensitive and product ID should not go outside of your organization, so you will define in that auto labeling saying that product ID, whenever you find an alphanumeric number, alphanumeric with a 9 digits, then you want to apply a label as as a product marketing or product manufacturing, something like that. The auto label will scan the documents and then it will apply the label saying that the product ID label will be applied on that automatically. You no need to worry about how can I handle manually. So that will be taken care by the container labels. So basically, this is know your data. This is your protect your data, and then it's extendable via SDK to third-party tools also. Not only that, and you can ask me a question do I need to apply only to the to only Office 365 apps or and do I get a seamless experience of applying a label, whatever the documents residing in email or Teams, sending an attachment or the Teams or the SharePoint or even the Power BI report? Do I have a seamless experience of finding these labels across across these workloads? Yes. So whatever the label look and feel you see in any of these documents, the same will continue transmitting into those any of these workloads. And this is not a just a Windows story. So when users have Mac operating systems or iOS or Android, and trying to open the same document which has the label applied on that, you will have a seamless experience on those other operating systems also, not only restricted only to Windows or so. And then this and then now let's look at information protection beyond 365, Microsoft 365, which we call it as a defender for cloud apps. So defender for cloud apps is when a person is trying to upload a document which has a sensitivity label and applying or uploading into a third party apps which are like a Google Drive or a ServiceNow or Salesforce or AppBox or any other places, the protection will continue going into the third party apps also. And it's not only that, and there are some organizations which has data residing in on-premise SharePoints or on-premise file server also. We have a scanner which will scan the documents residing in on-prem also, because this is not just a cloud story. Even in on-prem also, on-prem SharePoint and on-prem file server also, the data will be scanned and apply the labels or apply the prevention of whatever action applied in the data loss, that will be taken care by the on-prem repositories also. And this is not just a story of cloud related apps or anything. So many of the users are working on devices, personal devices or office devices, connecting from the VPNs or connecting or working from the home. So most of the users, what they do is once they go home, they'll disconnect the VPN and try to upload into their personal USB drives or try to share via network to their personal devices, or trying to print a sensitive information document, and then they want to print it up and for their personal use, or the what most of the people they do is they'll take a control C and copy the content and then upload into their website, and then and then want to use for their personal purpose, or transmitting via Bluetooth, or opening a remote desktop connectivity and then transmitting via RDP and all using the endpoint DLP. So Microsoft Endpoint DLP helps in protecting or preventing data loss, whether they connected to network or not connected to network. And then there is no agent is required here. That is one of the beauty of this product. So any of the compete vendors where protection or prevention of data loss happening, you can ask a question to the vendor saying that, do I need to install any agent? So every vendor will say that yes, every user machine we need to have an agent to be installed, then only the protection will happen. But the beauty of this Microsoft Purview Information Protection is everything is agentless. No agent is required. Everything will be taken care by the everything is in built in. So no agent is required. The protection and prevention happens across all the user machines too. And then this story is not just endpoint DLP or anything. And then this entire thing is handled by the structured data. So now what happens if the data is residing in Azure blobs or SQL databases or Azure data lake stores or Amazon web services, or how do I handle that? So we have a capability of handling unstructured data also residing in any of these unstructured databases or in the form of a blobs or anything. We have an integration of DLP integration with those unstructured databases also, unstructured data stores also. And not only that, Microsoft Purview has advanced compliance solutions like, as I mentioned in the previous slide, insider risk management, which will track about the insider risky things happening and all. So that will be taken care, and which has an integration of DLP with any of the third party in any of these Microsoft other advanced compliance solutions like e-discovery, insider risk management, communication compliance, and any other Microsoft private services which is coming into the platform soon. So this is a 360-degree view of entire Purview information protection, which will tell you about know your data, protect your data, and prevent data loss across the workloads, whether it's a SharePoint, Teams, email, or Power BI, or endpoint DLP, or third-party apps, or on-prem services, on-prem servers, or unstructured data, or integration with any of these other compliance products. So this is a entire 360-degree view of the platform rather than a product, or it's a framework of offerings. Let me show you a demo of this. How does it actually works? So basically preventing data loss. How do I configure a DLP policy? And then you can ask me a question saying that, Pawan, you told about identifying the data, preventing data loss by applying the labels, and then preventing the data loss, protecting and preventing data loss. So how do I implement in actual scenario? For example, let's begin a closer look at about how do we configure a DLP policy. So this is the place where I told about Microsoft Compliance Dashboard. It's an overview of entire your organization. When you click on compliance.microsoft.com and go to data classification, it will tell you about your compliance score, 72%, or you have protected information out of 781 places. You have a sensitive information residing, you have protected only 54 places. And it will tell you about you are not provided the privileges or access controls are not implemented in your organization. Looking at this dashboard, the global admin will take care about started protecting or preventing data loss based on the organizational needs. So this is the dashboard which will tell us about where am I standing at this moment. And how does it look is when you go to the RU section, you will see basically it is telling about for an organization, for example, they created own custom sensitive information called Parshva test SIT. So it says that in your organization, around 40% of your organization documents has this SIT residing in your organization. When you double click on this, it will tell you about where exactly it is residing also. It tells about most of the places I feel in the SharePoint site, I see this sensitive information. Similarly, they created a regular expression with a wildcard saying that wherever wherever Aadhaar card number is there, star dot star, then start protecting. So they found that around 10% places. Similarly, international classification of diseases they found in this around. So if it is 100%, something around 10% of places they found that. Even not only that, they found around 17 places highly confidential data documents are there. And then they created a label called Maya test or something like that, or SPO label, or container label, or a sample confidential label. They found in these places, when they double click on that, they can see a global admin can see where exactly this label is applied and all. So let's look at up how does it actually looks at. So I've shown you the trainable classifiers is ML based classifier. Sensitive information types is Microsoft given sensitive information types. Content Explorer tells about where exactly it is data is residing. Activity Explorer tells about the logs where exactly it is happening. Let's take about an example of a real example. Let's take for my organization, Project Obsidian is one of the important thing where wherever I found a document with a Project Obsidian, I just want to protect the data or prevent data loss. Document with the name Project Obsidian should not go outside of my world, outside of my organization, or any document which has a word called Project Obsidian, and I just want to protect that. Assume that Project Obsidian is a new engine control chip design doing by my organization, which is very sensitive, and this design should not go design phase outside of my organization. That is what it's most sensitive for my organization, and we do not want this information to be inappropriately used or copied or disclosed outside of my organization. That is what my intention here. So what my global admin does is he has seen that this project Obsidian is present in 600 places in my organization. So when he double click on that, he found that in the SharePoint Online under PIVA contract documents, he found that this document with the name Project Obsidian is found in at 600 places. So he has to identify now how do you protect this. When you double click on each of these document, you can see that how does it actually looks at. And then now let's now I want to apply. So basically, what he did is he applied a label called Project Obsidian. He applied a label called highly confidential for these documents. Now he want to make sure that these documents should not go either via SharePoint or via email or via OneDrive or in the Teams chat. I just want to upload a file to my friend who is working in other organization, other department. Knowingly or unknowingly, I want to share it up this document for review purpose, which my organization want to avoid that. How does we do that? That will be taken care by the data loss prevention. And then let's create a new DLP policy, data loss prevention policy to protect this data. We do this by just clicking on create policy. And how does it look? Is by default, Microsoft has given the templates. Like when I click on financial, and then when I click on US financial, I see US social security number, US credit card number, US ABA routing number. That will be taken care. Now, because this project Obsidian is specific to my organization, so that's why I'm creating a custom policy. When I click on custom, it will ask me what exactly you want to do that. So I'm creating a policy saying that Project Obsidian, which is a DLP policy for Project Obsidian, and I want to start protecting or preventing data loss with a detailed description of policy. I'm just saying that assume that I'm a global admin and I'm creating a policy for my organization, not to go Project Obsidian Word or Project Obsidian document or a Project Obsidian file name outside of any of these workloads. Now I'm putting this restriction. Where do I need to put this restriction? I want to put this restriction of Project Obsidian. If a person, all distribution groups, and I don't want to exclude anyone in my organization, everyone in my organization, if a person is sending Project Obsidian knowingly or unknowingly via email, I want to apply an action. I'll show you how do you apply action. Or if a person is creating a document with the project Obsidian and uploading or downloading from a SharePoint site or in OneDrive or in Teams chat or in Endpoint DLP or in my third party sites, you're trying to upload into any of these documents. I want to apply some action on that. So how do I see that? So now if I see I want to apply in the third party apps, I'm saying that if a person with the file name or a sensitive information project Obsidian trying to upload in Box or Salesforce or Dropbox US or Dropbox EU, I just want to restrict that. This is one of the way I'm just doing this. I can add it up. I can add it up in any of these things, saying that either for all the distribution groups, and I want to restrict. So for example, if my CISO or CIO is sending by email, I want to send it up. Or if my head of manufacturing want to share the design to his team, I can include or exclude a specific distribution group. That way, I can create it up. In the third party app, I said that I want to restrict in all these things. Now, how do you create a rules for this? Like how do you apply action for this? If a person is trying to upload, what happens exactly that? Let me see that. So saying that if a person, if I detect the content in any of the Microsoft 365, when sharing outside of my organization, I'm saying that, and a sensitivity label as Project Obsidian is mentioned in any of the document and contains this label. What I'm doing is when a content matches and at least 10 or more in more or 10 or more instances, a mail is going. For example, a person is sent 10 times by email, then you alert it as a saying that high alert to all the people, like, and make it as incident report in email to the people, global admin and everyone in your organization, saying that high alert and highly confidential information went outside, knowingly or unknowingly. Send an email immediately, or send alert if any DLP rule matches. So those things will be taken care by it. And then you can restrict access, saying that for a person, if a person is sending by email or a SharePoint upload or download happened, you can restrict access, or you can encrypt the content saying that no access to that person doing this anytime. So that action you can apply it by applying this rule on that policy. And not only that, you can customize these actions, saying that, and then when a person is sending by email or SharePoint or OneDrive, you can apply notify these people also, saying that inform his manager, saying that your one of your team member has done a mischievous activity sending this design outside. I can tell you the who is the recipient, who is the sender and recipient, and then all those things. You can notify that person's email ID also, and then you can inform the global admin also, saying that this person has done a mischievous activity by sending this design outside, take an action or something like that. And and assume that a person has recently joined, he doesn't know that this project Obsidian should not go out. For example, he's a new joinee and he doesn't know that. So we have a capability to customize email text or customize a policy tip, saying that when a mail is going, when he's clicking a send button on the email, he get a policy tip saying that boss, you are sending in confidential information for our organization. You should not send that. A policy tip. We have a capability to create a policy tip, bringing awareness upfront, saying that don't send this to the outside of organization because it's a violation of our organization needs. So policy tip also will come. Still is doing that, avoiding the policy tip. That means knowingly this person is doing that. Then a mail will go to these people, whoever you identify, saying that this is the way this person is doing. And then when the global admin double click on the document, he can double click on the DLP alert, he can see who has done what has done and who has affected all those things. You can see that. And he can restrict the access or encrypt, he can block people from sharing. So if the mail goes outside of the organization, we cannot recall back because an external domain. That is the reason at the start itself we'll block people sending outside. So it's a forcibly, we are making the user not to send that mail. So we will provide a policy tip. We will help the user to not to send that. Still is sending, then we will block that block the people sharing or restrict the content. So mail will not go at all. For example, the head of the manufacturing person is sending that mail. It's a mandatory to do that because of he want to share to his department head to validate the design. Then he can get a justification box saying that why am I sending. So he can give a override rule automatically, and he can provide a business justification saying that um, I have modified some of the design things based on recent meeting, and then this is a new design, a new version. Please validate that. So he can give a business justification, and then he can send it up. Only a restricted people. That way we can apply the actions also. And not only that, if a person is trying to copy that into a USB drive or copying Control C and Control V is doing into this, that can be taken care by the endpoint DLP. So when a person is trying to do uploading into cloud services, uploading or copying into clipboard, or copying into USB drive, or copying into network share, or trying to print these documents, so he can do that. He can try to print the document, the design, and he can scan that, and then he can send it via WhatsApp or via Signal or any other messaging apps. So he can do that. We can restrict the printing also, whether you can do audit block. So whatever you do, a global admin will get a message to him also. And not only that, when he's trying to do uploading into third party apps, which were mentioned in the design policy creation time, whenever a policy match appears, then a policy match file owner will get a message, and a global admin will get a message also. Even whatever he's doing, that will get recorded, and a global admin can take it up. So you can ask me a question, okay, we all do that, but what is the guarantee that this is working perfectly? So that is the reason we are bringing upfront, saying that don't turn it right away in all your users. You can test it up first on a limited set of users, only a set of 6 or 7 people with a DL. test it out of first, whether it's happening properly or not. Once you get and validate the false positives, once you are happy, then yes, turn it off right away to entire organization. So you will get you can test it up, validate the results, and then turn it off right away. So all these alerts will be stored in the O365 audit log store. That will be part of the product or a platform itself. So once you can review the policy and create it, saying that now you created a policy with the name Project Obsidian, and you have applied on all these workloads, and then you have created a project settings and then actions on that. And right now you testing only on a test environment or turning policy on a test environment, and then you want to test it up and then implement that. Once you click submit button, the policy will be created. That means the policy is in action now. Now you want to test it on the users now. So what happened is we created a Project Obsidian, a label has been created saying that Project Obsidian is my label, and you created a policy in your organization saying that knowingly or unknowingly these documents or the word containing Project Obsidian in from any of the workloads going, then apply this action saying that restrict action, restricting print, restricting USB uploads, restricting third-party apps, all those things you have created a policy now. Now let's see how do you enforce this DLP policy. How does it looks like when a person is sending or when a person is sending this document? How does actually it looks like? Assume that for a example, I'm taking that a person uh, a person or the team chat is trying to send the message project Obsidian, and then he's sending a message to his recipient or who is a part of other organization or other department. He shared or he uploaded a document with the name Project Obsidian, and then how does it looks like? What happens is when the sender is sending a message to a recipient via chat messages or via channel messages, in the channel messages in the sense he trying to upload a file in the chat saying that which has a label called Project Obsidian, and then immediately he gets a message saying that your message is flagged because it contains sensitive data. So basically, he found that a Project Obsidian is there with a file name or a content inside that related to Project Obsidian. And then he get a message saying that if it's a mandatory, give me a justification saying that why are you doing that so that I can unflag this message. Or you are sending knowingly or something like that, then force it up, but the message will be blocked because it will not allow you that message to go to the recipient. So if it is a mandatory, then give a justification. This is the way it comes into the sender's message. So once he confirm, the message will go to the global admin saying that the sender has sent a message with a Project Obsidian to a recipient, and recipient has got this one. You can view by double clicking on the DLP alerts. You can see who is the sender, who is the recipient, that and all. You can validate that, and then assume that what happens if a person is trying to copy this diagram or trying to print it up from his laptop or from his desktop, and then this diagram is in a Word document with the Project Obsidian here, and he trying to copy this document here. What happens is when he click on this copy this diagram, when he read the Control A and read the copy, then he immediately get a message saying that this action is blocked. You are trying to attempt or trying to copy a sensitive data which is a violation of our organization, and you should not copy the data while protect this document is open. And if you allow it, you will need to retry the copy, something like that. A message will come, and in fact this is a generic message at this moment. You can give your custom organization message also saying that Project Obsidian is one of the most confidential project running in our organization XYZ, and you are trying to send this. If you need approval, please contact your manager. That way you can give a custom message also in this, and then accordingly you can block it up or you can allow. Because in the rule setting time, we said that whenever a person is trying to copy, we are not blocked there. We have allow audit only. That is the reason he's getting a button called allow. So he's allowing, but a message will go to the global admin. And the size of the policy tip is you can increase the policy tip, or in your presentation you can do that also. No, uh, the policy tips the policy tips whatever is coming is consistent across the operating system. Now endpoint DLP is applicable even in Mac operating systems also at this moment. Okay, now let us see how does it looks like when a person is trying to upload into third party apps. So now what he's doing is he's trying to upload into a third party app, or he's trying to copy these things and sharing it up into a network share. He's trying to drag it up and to and copying into a network share. He get a message saying that this action is blocked. You can choose allow it or skip it up, but I am not going to allow you to transfer these files into this network. And this is a custom message they have given saying that your organization policy of saving to removable media with sensitive files open is not allowed. So I'm just restricting that. So a message will go to the global admin again. And then assume that if a person is trying to upload a file into a third party app, where we mentioned that Appbox or Google Drive or Salesforce, all these are all unallowed apps in our organization. So that has been, so now this person has opened a dropbox.com and trying to upload a file, which is a project Obsidian, then immediately get a message saying that your content was blocked because it has sensitive data. This is the way where where the person with a project defined, sensitive project defined, or sensitive word or sensitive information type defined in any of the workload, knowingly or unknowingly, he's trying to do that. A restriction happens, or the action will be applied on those documents or on those workloads. So this is called the DLP of this. And then please keep posting your questions in the chat. Once I'll leave last 5 minutes for the questions, and then I'll answer those questions. And then let me share what else we have. So we heard the customers' voices, and during my discussions with the CISOs and CIOs, normally gather the information on what else required for the product to bring it up more value adds in the platform, so that that will help all the customers across the industries. So based on the information collected, recently brought some of the announcements which we brought it, saying that some of the policy templates, many of the organizations or industry related policy templates has been brought into the platform. That has been announced in April. And you have heard about the last month's October 12th to 14th, sorry, this month October 12th to 14th, the Ignite announcements has been happened. So many releases have happened. And then there are some public preview announcements where we are announcing some of the features which are bringing into the product to limited customers. And there are some announcements came into the platform as a general available. That means available to all the public based on the licenses they have. So we brought some region specific character, like for example, non-English countries like Chinese, Japanese, and all, they want to protect sensitive information in their own region language also. That has been brought into the platform. And some of the people, what they're doing is they want to restrict only if a person is doing .exe or .jpg or something else, .zip or data files. They want to protect based on the extension that has been brought into the platform. And most of the users, what they're doing is, if the project Obsidian is in a zip file, and then because the zip file is the project Obsidian.doc file is inside a zip file, when we are sending a zip file is not able to protect earlier. Now there, so whenever anything archives are there, the file with the project Obsidian is inside an archive, so we'll start protecting that and preventing data loss also. Now endpoint DLP is in Mac also. It starts supporting endpoint DLP on Mac also, and we are bringing additional conditions in SharePoint and OneDrive also. With the conditions in the sense, if the recipient domain is something, or if the file extension is so and so, or if the content contains a password protected file, how do you protect that? So those conditions have been brought into the SharePoint and OneDrive also. And not only that, we are bringing additional restrictions to sensitive files when trying to open from different applications. And so many of the users, what they're doing is they're enabling the Bluetooth from their laptop and then mobile, and then transmitting via Bluetooth also trying to happen. That also we started restricting Bluetooth or restricting remote desktop sessions also. We started doing that. And then so global admin, is becoming a challenge for the global admins to view the DLP alert. So we brought a Defender portal. It's a centralized portal where the global admin can track all the Microsoft 365 services at a single point, single incident management portal, whether it's a Defender for Office, or Defender for Endpoint, or data loss prevention, Microsoft Defender, Microsoft, any of the Microsoft services. They can view from the single incident management portal, which we call it the Microsoft Defender portal. We can view everything from a single portal, and then all the DLP alerts and the incidents can be tracked up from this DLP portal itself. So these are all the recent announcements which has been brought into the platform. Plus, in addition to that, we have announced some other things in the recent Ignite also. So that has been brought into the platform. So there are multiple resources available. I'll put it in the chat after this. And then you can view my ak.ms, Microsoft Purview, or ak.ms or DLP docs. You will view all these information, latest information. You can view that. And then that ends to my session and any questions you have. So I didn't check my chat during the presentation. If you have any questions, yeah, let me go through that. Yeah, can we apply labels on non-Microsoft files like PDF? Yes, that's a great question, Kitpal. So we have integration with Adobe at this moment. And then, so most of the users, what they're doing is, if I have a document with I mean, if I have a document .doc or .xls or .ppt, I can apply a label on that .doc. Most of the users, what they're doing is they're doing a save as PDF, so that the restriction is going out. Now we are bringing that feature into a private preview at this moment. The label, whatever you applied in the Office apps, that will continue into the PDF also. We have a tight integration with Adobe team also now at this moment. That is coming into the platform. And Adobe, if you go to adobe.com and then search for MIP, you will see the news of that. And then it's in private preview at this moment. So if you want to test it up, maybe you need an additional license of Acrobat Writer or something like that, and then that will start protecting also. That yeah. So that is the only question I got it. And any other questions, I'm very happy to answer those questions in the next 3 minutes we have. It's basically I was a little bit hurry or a little bit it's a huge topic, cannot cover in 50 minutes to 55 minutes, but I tried my best to cover. It's a very fast. And if you need any of this session in a detailed way, maybe we can have an offline session. You can ping me in LinkedIn or you can drop me an email also. I can